This game was played between Alekhine and Sterk in Budapest in 1921, with Alekhine playing the white pieces. The combination by Alekhine in this game was awarded the Brilliancy prize. Alekhine starts the game with the Queen's Gambit, to which Sterk replies a standard Queen's Gambit declined, and then in this position Sterk continues bishop at c6, which is an unusual move and allows white to play c5, and then black is forced to withdraw to bishop at e7. However, after this move, bishop to d6, Alekhine does not play c5, but plays the knight to b5, attacking the bishop on d6 with a knight. Sterk withdraws the bishop to e7 to avoid the exchange of a knight for a bishop. The game then continues, queen c2, and Sterk plays c6 in order to repel the knight on b6. Alekhine then withdraws the knight to c3. The game has transposed into a standard anti-Marian line of the Slav defense, with the difference that black has gained a tempo because of white's faulty move, knight to b5. Black then castles. We then have bishop d3, and then we have exchanges in the center. Black then plays c5 to challenge white's center, and then white castles. Black now plays b6 in order to fianchetto the bishop on b7. This move also supports the bishop on c5, and then in this position black has now fianchettoed the bishop and has completed his development and has an easy game. The position is about level. Alekhine then develops this bishop by bishop g5. Sterk withdraws the queen from the firing line of this bishop on g5 by playing queen to c8. And then Alekhine plays queen to e2, because in this last position black was threatening bishop takes f2 followed by queen takes c4, winning a pawn. So Alekhine plays queen to e2 to defend the bishop on c4. Sterk continues bishop to b4. Alekhine withdraws the bishop to d3, and then Sterk plays bishop takes c3, threatening to win a pawn, because after bishop b takes c3, queen takes c3. So in this position, in order to avoid the loss of a pawn, Alekhine plays rook f to c1. In this position, Sterk continues knight takes e4, and is really a mistake, because he is creating major difficulties for himself, because the bishop on c3 is still pinned to the black queen. Alekhine continues bishop takes e4, and in this position, after some exchanges, black still has the attacked bishop on c3 pinned to his queen. So black then plays nc5, attacking the white queen, and Alekhine plays queen to e2, withdrawing the queen. This move, queen to e2, was particularly commented on in Alekhine's day, and the suggestion was that queen to b1 was a stronger move, because white then wins a piece for 2 pawns in this way, and white with a piece for 2 pawns ahead has a strong advantage. However, Alekhine decided to play queen to e2 instead of queen to b1. The game then continued bishop to a5, Sterk withdrawing the bishop. Alekhine plays rook a to b1, which is threatening pawn to b4, forking the 2 black minor pieces. Sterk then replies queen to a6, proposing the exchange of queens. Alekhine then interposes the rook between the 2 queens by playing rook to c4, and now Sterk plays knight to a4, and this must be rated a poor move in this position, because black now has a lost game. The purpose of this move, knight to a4, is that if white mistakenly plays b4, then black replies nc3 and wins the game. However, Alekhine does not fall into this trap, but begins a kingside attack against white. In this position, black, by playing knight to a4, has ignored other positional aspects. that this move knight to a4 unguards the black queen and places the black knight on prise on the border square. Furthermore, the black castle king is undefended except for one rook on f8. All white's pieces are poised for a kingside attack, whereas all black's pieces except for one rook are on the a file on the extreme queen side. So that in this position, Alekhine then starts his kingside attack with bishop to f6. This is only one component in white's brilliancy prize combination. The other component is to play against the black pieces awkwardly aligned on the a file. Sterk replies rook f to c8 in this position. The bishop on f6 cannot be taken by g takes f6 because we then have rook to g4, king to h8, and white wins the black queen by queen takes a6. So the bishop on f6 cannot be taken, and Sterk replies rook f to c8 in this position. Alekhine then continues the attack against the black king with queen to e5. White is now threatening queen to g5 followed by queen to f7 checkmate. So in order to prevent this mate threat, Sterk replies rook to c5. There are many other possibilities for black in this position. If we look at some of these possibilities, for example, if black takes the rook on c4 by queen takes c4, then we could have queen to g5, queen to c1, rook takes c1, rook takes c1, queen takes c1, g takes f6, and then Alekhine would play queen to c6, which forks the rook and the knight, and white wins. An alternative for black in this position is to take the rook on c4 by rook takes c4, and then we could have queen to g5, rook g4, queen takes g4, g6, queen takes a4, b5, and white wins. Another alternative is for black to take the bishop on f6 by g takes f6, and then we could have rook to g4, king to f8, queen to d6, check, king to e8, rook to g8, checkmate. So that in order to avoid these difficulties in this position, black plays the defensive move rook to c5. Alekhine then displaces the queen while maintaining the mate threat on f7 in this way, g7. Sterk replies g6, and this is in fact the only move to avoid a forced checkmate in at most 6 moves. For example, if black tries to displace the black king by king to f8, then we could have the sequel queen takes g7, king to e8, knight to e5, and white is threatened both queen takes f7 checkmate and queen to h8 checkmate, so that black's next move is more or less forced, rook takes e5, and then we could have queen to g8, king d7, queen takes f7, king d6, and then in this way, after a king hunt, in this position black is checkmated. So that here black plays g6 in order to avoid these mate threats, and then white simply plays rook takes a4, which wins a piece and the game. Black has no defensive resource, and the rest of the game is a matter of technique. Sterk then continues queen to d3, Alekhine plays rook f1, then we have rook a c8, Alekhine plays rook d4, Sterk plays queen to f5, and then Alekhine proposes the exchange of queens. After the exchange of queens in this way, if Sterk had exchanged queens, we could then have rook takes f4, rook c4, rook takes c4, rook takes c4, and then white has an easily won endgame. But in this position, Sterk does not exchange queens, but plays queen to c2, which is a blunder and a lost position, because then Alekhine plays queen to h6, and then black resigned in this position as queen to g7 checkmate is unavoidable. There are many different variations in this complex combination by Alekhine, and more details are given in the annotation to this game in the master game collection of the site letsplaychess.com.